Hello and welcome to the Tony McClellan Show here. Most Mondays, bringing you some updates on social impact, justice and mobility. And in between that, I have some fabulous guests as well. So sometimes they are here to empower, others are here to inspire, or they have a really great story. And today, again, is no different. I have the wonderful Cory Lopes-Warfield, who is here with his part two. He was here just a few weeks ago and here with his part two. How are you doing, Cory?
I'm fantastic, Tony. How are you doing?
I'm good. All the better for having you here as well. So before we get down into it, because I know that we've only got 30 minutes with you, thank you so much for giving up the time. If you are here, do just drop us a little message or a little comment just saying that you're here. And I can acknowledge you. I'm not sure if I can get them on the screen, but I'll make sure that you are acknowledged, because whilst Cory and I are having this conversation, it's about all of you being a part of it as well. So part two, Cory, you took us through, where you were starting, how you started out as a waiter. In fact, why don't you introduce yourself first?
Oh, well, sure. Thank you. So my name is Cory Lopes-Warfield. I'm a serial entrepreneur from Chicago, Illinois, now via Rio de Janeiro, Brazil also. I started my first technology company 7 years ago, born from a problem in the restaurant industry. So schedules always change. You never know when you were working. You couldn't forecast your income. I knew data existed to fix all that. So I bootstrapped a company to market. We ultimately raised quite a bit of money, scaled to some national accounts. I took an exit from that company some time ago, and I've gone on to help start a few other ventures, and especially a launchpad that's helped about 15 Web3 companies build sustainably, carbon neutral, and just trying to help bring technology to the world that we want to see here.
Well, and Matt, what a fantastic story. I'm just so saddened we haven't got time to really plunder deeply into all of this, but it's so fantastic to hear. And also about the sustainability part as well, and sustainable development goals. We all know about the 17 sustainable development goals and your focus here. So thank you so much for sharing that. Let's see, we've got Bernard Tony who's joined us here. Do tell us where you are joining from as well, what part of the globe you are. So we've got White House medical officer. I love stories of perseverance. Thank you. And
Bernard and I have chatted on LinkedIn before, and he's a phenomenal person doing phenomenal things. Good to see you, sir.
Okay, welcome, Bernard. And we've also got Stella here from the hospitality. She loves the Hospitality Connection. What an achievement from there. So much, really, and all in the space of just a few years. A very full life, isn't it? So we've got Bernard saying he's from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much. We've got Marcia Lee, who's out there in the US as well. Thank you for joining us. We've got Melody from Massachusetts as well. Thank you so much. I know it's very early for some of you that are joining us. It's very early for you as well right now, isn't it, Cory?
It's about 8 a.m, so it's midday.
So you've had your pint of coffee already and you're good to go. You're good
That's
to rock and roll. Okay.
Yep. I've moved on to my vodka.
Okay, there you go. So where do we start? I mean, one of the things that you mentioned in the last, when we were here together, was that you done lots of music, and I love that rap as well. I've gone back and listened to it a few times as well, and I'm sure a few others have. But you also talked about a time when you were ill, Cory, and we didn't pick up on that. We didn't have the time. Is there anything that period of time that you want to share with us, or any learning that came out of that particular time?
From which time? I didn't catch that.
When you were unwell. You said that you were
Oh,
unwell at one point.
well, at the beginning of COVID, or actually probably just days before COVID, my company was trying to get Keyman Insurance taken out on me, and so interesting story. But they gave me a form, and I was supposed to fill it out, and then they were going to take out a multi-million-dollar policy on me. To this day, I don't know if they were trying to kill me or not. But so I filled out the policy form very, very honestly and accurately, because that's what I do. And I got a call the next morning from the gentleman that my investors replaced me with, the CEO, and we had a stand-up call every morning at 8 a.m. And he would call me at exactly 8:00, and I would answer, and I would say, hello, and he would say, good morning, sir. And this is how we started every morning conversation for months. And so I think I took the intake form or whatever on a Thursday or Friday, and it was a Monday. And so we get on for our 8 o'clock stand-up, and he was going to fill me in. And he said, I'm not going to use the bad word because I don't know who's listening, but he said, what the F is wrong with you? Right. Now, this is a man that worked for me. His salary I was paying, and every other time it started off with good morning, sir, from him. What the F is wrong with you? And I said, pardon? He said, did you really put on the form that you smoke marijuana every day? I said, well, sure, they asked, and so I was being honest. Right? I said, what was I supposed to do, lie? And he said, well, yeah, you're supposed to lie. I said, I'm not going to do that. What if something ever happened? And right? No, I need to have everything above the boards. So because of that, they had to have someone come on site to my house and do kind of a full medical analysis.
Okay.
And so they did that. And this guy came, he was 6'6", handsome, didn't say more than 3 words, had pee in a cup, and took some samples, and then he left. And I got a letter days later in the mail saying that I had a very advanced hepatitis liver disease and that I was dying. And they said I was going jaundice. They sent me to a clinic, and so it was really bad stuff, right? And I was told there was a medicine, but I was uninsured. The medicine was $130,000, and I didn't have $130,000 liquid that I could just spend on a medicine and keep going with life. So I was really distraught, and they told me I might have months to live.
Really?
Yeah.
All of this, just in a short space of time.
Within
You
a
wasn't
week.
expecting it. You didn't have any symptoms or anything. This was a part of a process you were going through for some insurance, and all of a sudden, it's like something's wrong.
Yeah.
And then they're saying that actually the prognosis isn't great, and you can find 130,000 and it might help. So there's so much going on there, Cory. How did you what happened? How did you work through it?
Same way I worked through every problem, right? I went through all the phases: grief, distress, anger, confusion.
Wow.
And then I said, well, now let me put my feet on the ground and see what I can do, because I didn't want to accept that as a potentiality or as a reality. And so what I do, and anytime I need anything, is I go to social media. So I went to social media and I joined some groups, talked to some people. A lady said, reach out to this company, they'll help you. And I said, well, I don't have insurance. And she said, oh, it doesn't matter, they exist for people without insurance. I said, well, and I gave her all the reasons why these people couldn't help me. And she basically said, none of those are valid. You can reach out to them or not, but you should, right? So typically I like to read the writing on the wall. And so I reached out. I saw they were in Florida, but I reached out that day. They had an Uber waiting out front for me that took me downtown. This is the first week of COVID. It took me to a doctor's office downtown Chicago on Michigan Avenue. The lobby was so crowded you couldn't see through it. I walked in, someone met me at the front door, took me to the desk. They said, Mr. Warfield. Within 5 minutes, I was in a office being seen. They told me everything is going to be fine. They took my blood. They did all these things. I had within the next 2 days, I had the medicine in my mailbox totally for free. The company in Florida that helped me reached out and said, Cory, we will never charge you a penny for anything ever. And so if anyone ever reaches out to try to get money from you for this, tell them no, it's a scam. These people sent me, they paid postage, they paid for my Ubers, right? They got me the medicine. And so all I had to do was be smart enough to not drink, not eat meat, and take my medicine every day for a few months. And I did that. And that's all it took. And so, I think the message that I took away and that I hope to impart to others is that, even the worst news doesn't have to be bad news. It's really a matter of, do you accept things as being bad, or do you not accept them being bad? And that's what got me great at AI as well. When I first started using AI, it told me all the things it couldn't do. And, for the first few times I said, oh, that's too bad. It can't build a financial model for me. It can't, do research in real time for me and all these things. And I said, no, I'm not accepting that either. So I figured out how to get it to do everything it said it couldn't do.
Okay, so that is so much of a testament to you, isn't it? And your whole mindset around, well, actually, I'm not accepting this at all, and if there's a way that it can be done, I'm going to find that way, So ultimately.
And I want to be very clear. My mindset put me into situations, but it was not me. We can say it was divine. We can say it was humanity. But if it weren't for this amazing group out of Florida and this amazing group on Facebook and this amazing lady that would have pointed me in the right direction, I'm sure I would have been dead anyhow. So it's, we don't do things by ourselves. That's for sure.
But do you know what, Cory? It just sounds like an unreal tale. It absolutely does. It sounds like a miracle has actually taken place, honestly. So it doesn't even feel real. So but the fact that you went through that and you conquered it, testament to you. My hat goes off. And Melody's saying it's an incredible story. Belief absolutely matters. And Marcia's saying the same thing as well. We've also got Vidya from India who's joined us too. Thank you so much. And it was an incredible story, and I wish you well. But I think let's just kind of pick up on mindset from that, Cory, because mindset is everything, isn't it? And I can tell you really briefly that when I was younger, one of my sweetheart, I guess, was called William, and we used to call him Will, and my nickname was Faye. So he used to call me Faye, and I called him Will, and we had this thing together and we said, where there's a Will, there's a Faye, because actually we were always together, and on top of the fact that we were always together, I believed that anything was possible. And he would say to me certain things and test me and see if it could happen. And I'll be like, no, I'm not going to let anyone down. And I think that that's kind of stuck with me, that anything is achievable. Even now, when I say to people, I've got a network of probably about 10 people around me. And if you have a problem, if I can't help you, somebody in that 10 will know how to help you or what to do. And if they don't and they can't, then you really do have a problem. Because and this is the thing. So I think mindset, and that's a fantastic story that you shared with us, and hopefully it will inspire a few people that are here with us today. Like, for example, we've got Craig from Australia who's saying good day as well. Thank you so much. So, Cory, how has that mindset helped you? Because I know that you've kind of you talked about your followers, you talked about when you were a waiter, how you amassed your following. You gave us some real good tips about LinkedIn. Do you want to remind us of what those tips were in terms of building your following, and we can pick the story from there? Thank you.
Well, I'd say the most important thing that many people I look at on LinkedIn are doing wrong is most people don't have a strategy. So if you don't know why you're posting, it's a waste of everyone's time, resources, right? If you don't know why you were active on LinkedIn, there's so many things that can be done intentionally and strategically on LinkedIn and deliberately. And if you don't have that action plan, right, then you're missing all kinds of opportunities. Everyone is on LinkedIn to sell something, whether it's themselves as an employer or an employee, or they're a coach, they're an author, they're a speaker, and they're selling themselves and their services. But so I see so many people speaking at their audiences, not with them. This is very condescending. LinkedIn is a networking platform. So I find when people have a strategy, show up to network on a free global 24/7 networking site, and execute on that strategy, I've seen people do 6 and 7 off of LinkedIn, right? But that's not an accident.
Disappear on me for a moment there, Cory.
What's that?
I think you just disappeared on me for a moment there. You
Did I?
disappeared from the screen, I think so. But just like magic, you were back again. Not sure what happened, but carry on. Carry on.
Oh, just I was saying I've seen people do 6 and 7 figure inbound deals on LinkedIn, but that's not an accident, right? That's a byproduct of intentionally deploying a strategy effectively. So I think most people just show up in a way that is not conducive towards a platform. And when you work with the psychology of the platform, with the strategy, there's nothing you can't achieve. LinkedIn is hands down the most effective social media platform for professionals in the world.
So psychology and strategy, I'm just making a note of that for when we have our recap towards the end. So if you have any questions for Cory, I've only got him for just under another 15 minutes. If you have any questions, now is the time to drop them in the chat. And I just acknowledge and thank all of you for spending some of this time with us. So Cory, let's continue on. And I know that, let's just kind of think about the LinkedIn piece. And because I know that what also you've got the psychology, the strategy, what plays into that is the work that you've done around the metaverse and AI as well. Should we pick up on that just slightly? For those of you that aren't familiar with metaverse and AI, do you want to just give us an overview of metaverse and an overview of AI and how that's coming to the fore?
Sure. Well, not to be doom and gloom at 8 a.m. on a Monday, but AI could absolutely end humanity. So I think it's very important that that these next crucial steps are done in the right way. I serve on some councils and some committees of people that are really looking at the long-term implications of artificial intelligence, but I'll throw out some controversial statements. I've been saying for a few years that I believe the metaverse ushers us into the fourth dimension. It transcends space and time. So the metaverse is a digital world and a digital reality, and you should be able to access it through goggles or a headset, but you should also be able to access it through your television, through your phone, through your computer, at some point soon through holograms and even through brain implants. So we've seen brain implants in humans already being effective. We've seen paraplegics with implants both in their brain and spine that enable them to walk. We've seen AI and implants that can read humans' brains. So there's already technology that can translate your thoughts and your dreams into digital worlds. So we start to think about your dreams becoming digital worlds you can go back in and relive. This is kind of the bridge between some of the technologies that are happening right now. And I'm the Chief Growth Officer at a company called Agora World. We are a drag and drop metaverse creation tool. We're free to use. So you can go on and you can create a college campus or a football stadium or a park, right? We've partnered with Google and Google Maps, so you'll be able to actually use Google Maps to turn your old neighborhood into a virtual world that you can walk through digitally. And so right, some of this becomes metaverse, and the big industry that's emerging is the afterlife industry. So we're looking at how do we recreate memories and voices and likenesses of loved ones. And so theoretically, you'd go into the metaverse and you'd be able to speak with your great grandmother, things of that nature.
So Cory, you should have been a scientist then, or a professor or something.
I work with some amazing scientists.
You sound just like one, honestly. So it's absolutely amazing what the world that you're taking us into. So let me just kind of capture that in a LinkedIn version for a moment. So what you're basically saying is that, I mean, you started out, you've taken us through your journey, and what you're and you've amassed 500,000 followers over a very short space of time in a few years. So partly was because you understood the psychology of LinkedIn, and you had a strategy. You are forward thinking. So you're always thinking about what's happening for business in the future. Plus, you have this uniqueness around an interest in the metaverse as well as AI, artificial intelligence. And so it's something unique that you've got here, talking with your community rather than at them, which is key. Show up in a networking capacity, understand the psychology, and make sure you have a great strategy. Have I kind of captured it in a way? Because metaverse and AI is, it's going places, and it's where we need to keep our eye on in the future. So is that a good combination that helps you propel in business? And is that something that you would suggest to others?
Well, so I think those all become secondary and tertiary. I think that what's absolutely critical, both on LinkedIn and in business, is really a simple distillate of a lot of concepts, and that is being authentic and being kind. If you're not authentic and you're not kind, it doesn't matter how smart you are, how strategic you are, how much you're talking with your audience to network. Um, the authenticity piece is huge because it encompasses things like being honest, sticking to your word, having the social proof and capital of others actually speaking well of you. I don't say this for any reason other than illustrative, but if you go to my LinkedIn profile, you see over 100 people that have recommended me and saying things like I've changed their life and blah, 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 right? These types of things matter, right? This is all part of the authenticity. This isn't Cory showing up and saying, I can change your life and get you 500,000 followers on LinkedIn. This is other
Yeah,
people saying, Cory changed my life and got me 500,000 followers on LinkedIn, right? Huge difference. If you lack that authenticity, and I think it even, it comes down to who are you really? What do you really care about, right? It's not just being honest, but it's really presenting yourself in the way that truly represents yourself so that others can discern if they resonate with you, if they want to do business with you, if they want to follow you. Thank God I've got a number of people that follow me on LinkedIn and elsewhere that truly want to follow me. Why? Because they know who I am, right? They're not confused. They're not curious. They know who I am. They resonate with who I am. So the authenticity, I think, is the most important piece. Kindness as well. And it can be a bit of a contradiction, because if you're not a kind person, then being authentic means don't be kind.
yeah,
But I would argue if you're not a kind person, you might want to go back and figure that piece out, because people don't like doing business with unkind people. People don't like promoting and supporting unkind people. People don't like speaking with and selling to or being sold by unkind people. So I think the two do go hand in hand. And if
absolutely.
you're showing up with a kind heart, with an authentic nature, then having a strategy to deploy, right? Then having a roadmap and things to follow become mission critical.
Wow. Now, for anyone that's listening, that was gold dust. So make sure that you got your pen, paper, watch it back later, because you've heard it yourself from the man, Cory Lopes-Warfield. So one of the things I want to ask you before you run off, I know you're going to run out on me in a few minutes, is, just while we're talking about followers, recently, I know that there's some changes on LinkedIn, and they've recently, before we were going live, I mentioned to you that I'd lost about 80 followers, because LinkedIn are doing a clear up of hibernated and restricted accounts. And you also shared with me your own version of that. Do you want to elaborate a little bit so that people can know what to expect from LinkedIn if you're suddenly dropping followers? Because I know that mine were dropping so rapidly, that 80 over the space of a day, that I thought, oh, have I posted something? Have I put something out there? But do you want to just kind of wrap that in a couple of minutes, Cory?
Yeah, I mean, I lost the same amount of followers as you, but with a couple zeros at the end. I had about 550,000 followers, and then over the span of the 24 hours as well, yeah, I'd log in and I would watch it going down by some hundreds of followers in a given second, right?
Yeah.
And they gave a message that said, we're removing presumably fake and dormant accounts. I said initially, even before I knew what the magnitude would be, I said I'm glad. I said I certainly don't want any fake or dormant accounts following me. So good riddance. Now I didn't know the
Absolutely.
number would be so high, but I'm still very happy. I don't want non-active accounts following me. I want my followers to be real people that I can do real business with, or help, or network with, or whatever. So it took me pretty far down. Thank God. And that was a couple of weeks ago, and I've got about 20,000 new followers back in that time frame. So we'll be back up there in no time. I still aspire to have 1 million
So,
followers.
it's really about refresh. It's almost like a refreshing exercise, getting rid of the bad and bringing in some of the new, fresh, followers.
I had friends who lost millions of followers, and so
Wow.
I felt as though I almost got off unscathed.
Well, I know I did. I mean, I haven't got half as many followers as you. So when I saw 80, I thought actually, but when it kind of slowed down and stopped, I thought, okay, let me get used to the idea that, I haven't done anything terrible. It's more about the cleanup process. And like you say, it's more positive. And I think that that's an exercise that we should all really be thinking about, always reviewing your followers and your connections. And, because you want good quality people following you and adding value as well. And it feeds into what you were saying as well, that people that you're going to be communicating with in your community. So, Cory, again, you've blown us out of the water with all of your tips and hints. And anyone that's listening, I just want you to know that this gentleman here has reminded us to be authentic and be kind. Then have a strategy that includes understanding the psychology of LinkedIn and making sure that your strategy is really, really good. Making sure that you're in a unique space as well that has a future. Metaverse, AI, has a future. It's ever changing, ever evolving, and so this is some of the work that you're doing with organizations as well. And I just want to say thank you so much for all the tips. It's been an action-packed 30 minutes as per usual. And I don't know if you'll give me the pleasure of having you on here again so we can get deeper into this metaverse and AI.
I'll join you anytime. And what I will leave your audience with is I say how important it is to be authentic and kind to each other and to a social media platform. Anyone that's not playing with AI yet should, but anyone who is, those same tenets ring true. So if you are kind and authentic with your AI, if you train it the way you would an assistant, if you're kind to it, if you say please and thank you, it makes a huge difference. If you're patient with it, if you don't allow it to fall into its little, perceived pitfalls, AI can do a lot. I don't know much it can't do at this point. And so, being authentic, being kind, I think is important in every element and aspect of our life. Being authentic and kind to ourselves, right? To our pets.
And sometimes that's all we can do, because that's something that we can manipulate ourselves as well, Cory. And one of the things I say to people is it's so much easier to be yourself if you're not trying. If you find that you're trying too hard, then you need to just kind of strip it back and come back to being authentically yourself. And on that note, Cory, I just want to say thank you so much. And I just want to say thank you to everybody, Marcia, Melody, and we've got a few others as well that joined us. Who else have we got? We've got a few LinkedIn users here, Bernard, Stella, and those that I identified and said hi to before. Thank you so much for your questions. Do follow Cory. I'm going to do my best to bring him back here again. And thanks for joining me, and see you next week. And on that note, bye for now. Thank you for spending time with me and my guest today on Critical Reflections with Your Critical Friend. Today, you got just a very, very small sprinkling of Tony's fairy dust. But if you'd like more, then do reach out. For speaking or hosting, it's TonyMcClellan.com. For social impact, social justice, or social mobility, check out our work at firstlifegroup.com. I look forward to hearing from you. In the meantime, feel encouraged, be inspired, be empowered, and make a difference. Bye for now.